Thank you, Sly. You know, Sly does not do that. He doesn't do that stuff. And he did a beautiful job, and I want to thank you and John Boyd for being here. John, the great fight movies, I think Sly has a lot of them, and John has the Chimp. What a movie that was, right? But I want to thank everybody for being here. You know, when Mrs. Post and E.F. Hutton, her husband at the time, when they built Mar-a-Lago many years ago, the roaring 20s, it was the roaring 20s, and we're hotter right now than they ever were in the roaring 20s, I believe. But we're going to be a lot hotter. But we're going to have 1929 happen. So, if it would continue the way it was, it might not have been too good. But when they built it, nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew opulence. Nobody knew real luxury. Nobody knew poverty. They learned a lesson in 1929. They learned a very important lesson. And we're going to turn our country. We're going to make it so great, so strong, so powerful. We're going to bring it all back. I want to thank some people that have been so instrumental in doing such a great job in terms of not only policy, but people. And people love them. Brooke Rollins, who put this on with Linda McMahon. Linda has been a great friend of mine for a long time. I want to thank you very much. And the America First Policy Institute, what a job they've done. I said, you know, the policy is much more important if we do it for 8 years than it is if we do it for 4 years. So I said, let's do this. Don't worry about your policy. Let's get out and let's win the election. But nobody knew we were going to win it when we won it. That was that big one. So it was really great. And I'd like to congratulate Incredible, make Argentina great again. You know, MAGA, he's a MAGA person. And you know, he's doing that. He's actually doing that. Just happens to work with EA. That one we don't have to worry about. It doesn't work so well with other countries, but you know what? I think your numbers are working also. You've done a fantastic job in a very short period of time. It's an honor to have you here. That's really great. Thank you. Also, Speaker Mike Johnson, wherever you may be, Mike, in this very big and crowded room. Thank you, Mike. I went yesterday with just case. I said, look, I want to tell you, I'm behind this man 100%, and he got 100% of the vote for Republicans. Are you sure? You sure, huh? Yeah, he's done a great job. Nothing easy. We actually had one little period about 4 weeks where we had a majority of one. That was not pretty, right? And you handled it beautifully. He just kept that stiff up. But he's doing a really good job. And that was a great vote you got yesterday. Totally. So congratulations, Mike. That's beautiful. Members of Congress, all of whom voted for Mike, and they've been my friends. It's just a small group, but we have a lot of them outside, and we have a lot of them coming over the weekend. Byron Donald, the star. Where's Byron? Byron, what a star. What a star. Thank you, Byron. Ronnie Jackson, Doc Ronnie, he's a lot of things. He was my doctor. He was a great admiral, you know, highly respected admiral, great doctor at the White House, and now he's a very popular congressman. He won by 48 points. That's pretty good. Of course, it was a very, very Trumpy district, but he won by 48 points. But when he was a doctor, they asked him the question, the fake news, which is here. Look, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. We invited him, and they said, can we come in? They said, we have nothing to hide as Republicans, right? We have nothing. They asked Ronnie, they asked the doctor, he was up in the podium, who is the healthiest? Because he was the doctor for Barack Hussein Obama, Donald Trump, and he was the doctor for Bush also. They said, who's the healthiest of them all? He said, without question, it's Donald Trump. And I said, I like that. I said, I like that guy. And he's doing great. Jason Smith is here, a great, great congressman. Wesley Hunt, wow. And Mike Waltz, who's going to be doing a little other work for us very near future. We just nominated him, and he's going to be doing a great job in the administration. And I promised Mike that I wouldn't be taking too many more before we start counting the votes, okay? He said, please, could you slow down a little bit? I just like the people in Congress, Mike. I'm sorry. But no, don't worry about it, Mike. Just relax. Just relax. We have a man who has a seriously high IQ. You know, I'm a person that believes in high IQs, and his is about as high as they get. He launched a rocket 3 weeks ago, and then he went to Pennsylvania, they campaigned because he considered this more important than launching rockets. Of course, Elon Musk. What a job. What a job he does. And he happens to be a really good guy. You know, he likes this place. I can't get him out of here. He just likes this place. And you know what? I like having him here, too. He's good. He's done a fantastic job. Really an incredible mind, and he's an unbelievable entrepreneur, sort of everything. I'm asking him, what do you do best? And we were not able to figure it out, but it's a lot of things. Another one who's another great mind and a great guy and so popular, and I think he's right. He wants to make people healthy. It's driven him pretty wild over the last number of years. The Democrats didn't treat him well. He was doing fantastically well, and I think they came up with some rule that you had to do this, like you had to get 70 or 75% of the vote to qualify to be in the primary. That was a pretty tough thing to get. And he was doing incredibly well, and he decided he can't do it, went independent. Now he's with us all the way. And today I nominated him for, I guess, if you like health, and if you like people that live a long time, it's the most important position, RFK Jr. And I just looked at the news reports. People like you, Bobby. Don't get too popular, Bobby. Oh. You know, you've reached about the level. Now, we want you to come up with things and ideas and what you've been talking about for a long time. And I think you're going to do some unbelievable thing. Nobody's going to be able to do it like you. And boy, does he feel it in his heart. So congratulations also to your family. And a woman who was a Democrat and was an independent, she went independent, and last week she said, I want to be a Republican because this is what I said for her. And I've always admired her, and I've admired her because she was loaded up with common sense. And it's all about common sense. I mean, we're conservative in this room, but we can understand the other side. But what we really are is people with common sense. And I think that's why we won with numbers that we won by. Tulsi Gabbard. Thank you, Tulsi. Great comments. And you have Vivek Ramaswamy. It's taken people a long time, and now that name is emblazoned into their brain. But Vivek, wherever you may be, where are you, Vivek? Thank you, Vivek. Good. You're working with Elon on efficiency. They're working on efficiency, among other things, and they can be saving a lot of money and making our country stronger and better. And they'll be coming out with individual reports, but going toward the end. And you put those two together, it's going to be really great. So we look forward to seeing it and working with Elon. That's a great experience. You're going to learn something from Elon, I think, right? It's going to be great. Thank you very much, Vivek. And great job. What you've done is fantastic. And somebody that I've admired for a long time, but I've really gotten to know him in my political life, but especially I think over the last year, more than maybe ever before, maybe more than even in the first 4 years, because we had a tremendous success in my first term, and then bad things happened, and I couldn't wait. They're not going to do it. They're not going to help us. They're not going to save this country. And it really dawned on me about 10 days out. I said, wait a minute, with 10 days, I went 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. All of a sudden, it's 10 days, and every day seems so long. But I knew the crowd we were getting was going to be really crowds, and they just wanted hope. They wanted leader on which is
of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. The pandemic was not since 1917 where 100 million people died. Hasn't been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So, Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest. I'm offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. Thank you for that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something. The Vice President brought up your tariff response, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued that it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs a typical family $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics. And he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade.